Hi, I recently put out a picture on Facebook of these two unisex pendants. I call them men's pendants, and I think I got told off. So I've now done a tutorial on this one. So I'm now going to do a tutorial on this one. The thing is, they're both nearly the same. The only difference is with this tutorial, I cut the two bits out each side and put can't find the word, one of them, cocktail stick through. And with this one, I'm not cutting any sides out, not putting a cocktail stick through, and I'm just making a hole for a cord to go through. Okay, so all you need is this basic shape. Now, what I am going to do, rather than redo the whole thing, I'm just going to put the clip in that shows how to get to this stage or this stage, depending which way you want to do it. Okay, so I'll put those clips in now, and then I'll see you on the other side of those. I thought it would be easier than putting a link in, and then you've got to, if you're interested, you've got to go from tutorial to tutorial, so I thought this way would be easier. Hello, so I'm just having a go at, well, another go, I've had quite a few, at a unisex pendant. It's literally, I've just got some Fimo Professional, and I rolled it out, and I'm just going to put it into the mould. Now I've just found the closest shape I could to a spearhead, which I think this one's the best one because it's slightly narrower. So I'm literally just going to put all this into the mould. Got a little bit too much here, so I'm just going to get some out of the way. So I'm just sort of trying to manipulate and push it in as hard as I can, so it's going to be hopefully smooth when it comes out. I'm just going to get my rolling pin and give it a push both ways. Where's that come from? Just give it a quick clean. I've tried to get into the habit of taking it off in little slices, because otherwise you end up dragging it. So okay, so I'm just going to leave this to rest, but actually I'll see what it's like. If it's not right, then I'll leave it to rest. Just might be okay. Okay, so I've just put it onto a tile for now, so I can manipulate it easier. Hopefully it'll grip, and then once it has. Okay, so I want to sort of reshape it a little bit, and even if you've got a teardrop mold or something, you could still do this just by manipulating it. You know, if you haven't got a spearhead shaped one, and if you haven't even got a cabochon, you can always use a cutter and just do, say, a 2 on a 2, number 2 on number 2, and then cut it with cling film and it rounds the edge. So there's many ways of doing this. I'm just doing this because it's the easiest way. So just going to give this a little roll. I'll go. Should be it. I just want to try and straighten it a little bit more. A bit more of a spearhead. So I'm just going to play around with it a bit. A little bit more pointy. so I'm just going to give it a little roll each way to make sure it's pretty straight. That's it. I'm just going to bring those edges with my fingers. I'm just slowly rounding them off a little bit, which is fine anyway. Hopefully you won't get fingerprints if you're only rubbing, but it's going to be getting sculpted after anyway, so nothing on the surface now will be there. Okay, so now for the tricky bit. I've got to get this straight. So let's see if I've got any in here that I've done. This one's far from finished, but I've done this one so far, and it's a case of cutting out each side, so you've got the sort of spearhead bit ready for the wire to go around. So I'm aiming where that hump is. For me, I found the best way is to go straight in where that hump is. That's the easy bit. Matching it on the other side is a bit of trial and error. So see how it goes. If it's not wide enough, you can amend it easier, but if it's a bit higher or lower, it's a bit harder to get it to go right. So that's not too bad. Just look straight at it. So I'm looking down from an angle. Yeah, I think that's okay. And the next thing I want to do before I sort the edges out, I want to make a hole to go through for the wire. So my way of doing it is I will get the ball tool and put it that side so it's protecting it, and then I'll just gently, I'll look for my halfway mark. I've got a toothpick and I'm just going to manipulate it through. I'm trying not to disrupt the pattern, so I'm just twisting it as I go, and then I'm going to do exactly the same from the other side, and it should meet in the middle at some point. So as long as I go halfway, there you go, so that's through. So now you can play around with that a little bit. I'm going to leave that in there for now, so but I'll move it so it's not too tight. And then I'm just going to sort these edges out first. So with these, I see it that they curl in just a little bit, so I always just bring them down a bit like that. And then with these, I'll go up a bit. Best as it'll let me. It's thicker, so it's not going so quickly. Alright, so is that straight enough to use? Yeah. So I've just got to sort out that bottom, because that needs to go more into a point. So I'm just going to manipulate it a bit with the knife as well. Doesn't have to be perfect, as long as it needs to be shaped right. I don't want it to be off center at all. It's going to be getting chipped away at. Okay, so I think that's about it. Just going to double check it, and then I should put it into the oven at the manufacturer's recommended temperature. Also, everything you need will be written underneath above the comments. Okay, so I shall see you on the other side. Hi, so it's out of the oven, and I'm just going to pull the stick out, and then we've got a nice hole going through. So the next thing I'm going to do, now last time when I did this on the tutorial, I ended up having to cut and coming back with a plaster. So I have learnt, I must admit, when I'm on my own doing it, I never put plaster on because it's the only time I ever did cut myself. So for this, I'm just going to be sensible on screen, and I've put a plaster and a finger cut on. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start carving into it. So I'll go in and then out, so I'm grooving in, not just cutting, sort of slight circular motions. And at the first point, I'm doing it sideways on, so you can see that ridge when you're looking down directly. Okay, so I'll just do some of the bottom to show you, and then I'll come back when I've finished, otherwise you'll be bored. But I'm just showing you how to do it, and it slides through easily, and I haven't got the sharpest blade here. I thought that might be a recipe for disaster. So just take your time, and now I'm going to go at a sort of an angle like that, so I'm not up and I'm not sideways. Okay, I'm going in and out, in and out. And I'm going to put the back on after, because that's how I like to do it. I don't ever do like just a bake for one thing and bake that many times. I always collect them and then or add them to another bake that's going in. And it's just the way I prefer to do it. Okay, so I'm just going to do that all over. Let me come up the middle a little bit, excuse me. I'll come up the middle a little bit just to show you the top, and then I'll finish the rest off screen. Okay, so it's easier on the sides than the top. You've got to try and get an angle in. On the top it's flatter, but you can still do it. Just remember to dig in and out. So I just realised I was slightly off screen there. It's because I hadn't moved my chair to match the camera, so hope you didn't miss anything you could still see. I'm going to do the same even around these circles, just at an angle. This time though I'm not going to go right down. And then, if you see, I'm just going to do that all over, and then I shall be back. Okay, so now you're at this stage, and you'll either have decided to use this shape, which you can do. Let me show you a version messing around. I did a little version like that. So you can still do the same thing I'm planning to do and keep the sides in if you want. And you can, I did have one wire wrapped. Can't see it there. Or you can do exactly the same and wire wrap this too. But I'm going to just go with this one on film to try and kind of replicate that one with a little twist. Okay, so the first thing I've done is I've rolled out some black clay on a number 4, and now I've got a texture. This is like a sort of a rocky texture, if you can see it, and I just find it's really good for doing this. I'll show you what I'm trying to replicate. I'll try and find a picture so I can put it in here. So I'm doing my best at the moment. It's the best I can come up with, but I'll keep trying. And this is how far I've got. Right, I'm looking at, is it there? I'm looking at the width of that, so whatever I'm putting on here. Actually, I'm going to go for a size up if I can find it. That might be too big. No, that's perfect. Right, so where I'm going to be adding the sort of old aged metal effect is going to be about that much. So I'm going to use this cutter because then it'll be the right sort of shape. But I'm going to do anything I do on here and then transfer it because I just find that easier personally. So I'm going to cut this here. So I'm looking for my blade. I've got too many things around. I'll just get an old one a minute. Just moving this out the way. Now I don't want it to be just level, so I'm going to try and put a little bit of layering in it. So what I'm going to try doing, which I haven't done yet, this is the first time I've tried it, I'm going to try shaving a bit of this off and adding it to here. So I want it uneven, I don't want it all level. So there's a little bit added, and I might add another little bit just over on the edge. Yeah, hopefully makes sense. I'll try and remember to point out what I was trying to do further on. I might add, actually no, I'm looking for a bit with quite a bit in, and I might just add a sliver at the bottom. Oops, I've just heard my microphone unclip. Here we go. So if I do that roughly, I just got to clip it back. So I'm just doing that roughly. I'll just repress where I flattened it. And I'm just going to recut that. What I'm doing will make sense as I go, hopefully. Okay, so that should be absolutely plenty. Right, so the next thing I want to do is I actually want to add a little embellishment just to make it pretty, being as I got told by quite a few people that never mind it being a man's, I'd wear it. I thought I'd just add a little sort of 4 diamond thing into it just to give it a little bit of something. So I'm pushing that in now here, and I also want to edge it, so see if I've got enough of this here to go round. Now I'll re-roll it. I find it's easier to do it here than place it on there rather than the other way round, especially with it both being black. And you don't need to use black, of course, you can use any colour you like. I just happen to be. So all I want to do here is just edge it. So I've just cut a little bit off, and I'm just going to do a little sausage. And I'm happy that I've got enough of it in the length, the thickness I want, and it's even. I shall take it to meet its new mate. That should be enough, I think. Just going to get these rubber tools just to ease it into place. I might texture it anyway, I'll see. It might, because I don't want it to look too smooth. Yeah, I'm definitely going to texture it somehow, because it doesn't go being that smooth. But I do want it to hold the little 4 diamonds. So I'm just going to try and find a tool that I can use, where I can just sort of give it a bit of a broken, aged look, but at the same time I'm making sure that it's holding the diamond. I wish it was a diamond. So I'm doing very uneven lines going against each other and everything, so it looks more natural. I'm just going to bring that point in. Okay, so I'm happy with that so far. Now I'm going to transfer it to here and then roughen the edges up. So the next thing I'm going to do now is one of those times I will definitely be using liquid clay. So I want it to come down to about there, I think. So I'm just going to add the liquid clay above where I'm going to be adding it on. I haven't gone out of focus, have I? Okay. And that gives me some movability while I get it into place. I'm not too happy with that edge there, it's just a little bit too thick. It's still a little bit too thick. Okay. So now I'm going to place this where I roughly think I want it to go. Try and keep mindful that the first thing I want to do is attach it and then I can shape it after. So I'm trying to keep mindful that I'm keeping those two sides even and it's not slanting at the top. So my main aim is to get it to grip. So I'm just pushing it round with my hand first of all. Then I'm going to get the texture that I used earlier and use that again. It's going to fight me a little bit of the way, I think. And then it'll be okay. Right, it's gone a bit slanted now, so this is where the liquid clay is an advantage. I can shove that back. Okay, so now I'm going to remove this at the back. It wasn't very straight. I'll remove it and tidy it up after. So I'm just going to blend that in so it blends in with the back that's already on there. Unless you decide to do it in one. I just don't. Okay, so that's it. I'm happy with that for now. I can go over it again. Okay, so now I'm going to get a small ball tool and start manipulating it. So, you know, I'm going to flatten bits. I'm also going to bring it in and out. I don't want a straight line. I want it to look like it's old. I'm fighting the last battle. Try not to keep it as little ball dots. I'm just starting off that way, so I don't mind the odd ones, but I want it to look quite real. That needs to go in there, so that looks more even. I just want to get that central there. Okay, it's a bit thick there, so if I can push it down with the texture. Yes, I can. Might do that around there as well and see what happens. You don't know if you don't try, do you? Actually, yeah, I like that. I do like that. Right, next step. I want to try and get those little, they look like tiny little metal ball bearings, don't they? And they're minute, but they're where the metallic part will shine. And I think they make this, I think. Without them, I don't think it would look anything near as nice. So I'm just going to take a few minute slices. I know it's like almost annoying doing them this small, although I don't mind. I know some people it's a bugbear, but I'd say you only have to do between 10 and 20 at the most, depending. You might not even want any. So I'm going to add a little bit of liquid clay first in the areas I think I'm going to want these. I've still got to make the hole in the top, I mustn't forget that. I wonder if I should do that now, because if a finger goes in the wrong place, I could have a disaster. So yeah, just going to Take that out now. I'll do for the minute. Right. So it is literally a case of taking the tiniest little pieces, rolling them in the palm of your hand and letting them drop. They are literally little dots. So if you do yourself about, I'd say about 20 of them if you want quite a few. And then I'll be back when I've done that. Okay, so next up I just want to flatten some of this. So try it with this first. I've been using a ball tool, but I thought I'll try it with one of these rubber. No, I'm actually going to continue using the ball tool. So I'm just doing little circles, and what you find is this is very up and down with dips and withers, and the lower parts seem to be smoother with this kind of the way the metal deteriorates. So I'm just trying to, God, you'd never think this was a number 4. It feels really thick. Just trying to squash that down. Oh, I'm going to have to use something else because that's not working right. I need a bigger ball tool actually. I'm not seeing it. Oh, what about that one? Yeah. So I'll use a bigger ball tool. It's better. And I can just push areas down. So it's sort of got that aged, uneven look. Like that. I'm just going to push this back. Fix the clay around here where it just rubbed up. Away with you. Right. And then I'm going to put some liquid clay where I want these bits to be. Actually, I'm still not happy. Need a bit more off of there. It's better. Right, so I want a bit of liquid clay where I'm thinking that I'll put these little tiny sort of 4 metal ball bearings, I suppose. I suppose it's something that happens as it erodes and rusts. I don't know, but I love the look of it. So let's say, whoops, put some there, some here, and maybe a couple there. So I'll do that first. So one, I put them in little clusters of 2 or 3 usually. If you look at the real thing, you can see what looks realistic. Do I want this one? Right down in there. Then I'm going to get 1, 2, and the third one I'll have a little bit of a gap. Put you up there. I'll put glue on the knife. I'm going to put 2 there. Just going to turn it round. Might help to put the liquid clay there first. Where do I want it? I can have a couple along there and a couple in there. So the varying sizes, I've made some really small and the others just very small. But I think that looks more natural. I don't know the name of the process of what happens to cause it, but okay, so do I need any more? Yeah. I think I'll put one more in. No, I've got 3 there already. I don't want to overdo it. Put one more up there. And then that'll do. So now that is going to go in the oven. I'm just going to check everything's straight. I can already see something's not. So as soon as that's straight, I'm going to stick that in the oven. It looks off-centered down the bottom where I chiseled it, so I'm going to have to fix that. I'll do that off camera. Anyway, I'll put that in the oven at the manufacturer's recommended temperature, and then I shall see you on the other side. So I'm back with it. It's out now, and it's all done, back's done, everything's finished. It's just a case of finishing it off. So I've got some copper paint here, which I'm going to use to paint it all first time. I'm using a Liquitex acrylic ink. I just like it because it's really coppery and it's nice, and it's not thin, but I find it very vibrant. So all I'm going to do is absolutely coat everything in this. So I'll just do this side on camera. Not too worried if I get any on this the full stone, because I can take that off. But I'll try not to. Okay, so I'm just going to do that until it's all painted. Okay, and then I'm going to let it dry. So the next thing to do is start filling it in again with the black. I'm using a pearl black here. So I'm just totally covering it over with that as well. And make sure you get it into all the crevices. But with this you want to rub it off before it dries. So I'm trying to get it on there as quickly as I can, roughly. These little crevices here need to be filled in. The other side's going to be dry by the time I get there. I am doing the other one off camera alongside this. This has got to go in the oven, but when it comes out I'll show you it's at the same stage, but it gives you an option of doing it two ways. Just get this colour in here. I think I'm going to get a wet one to clean this because it's going to be a bit dry. You've got to be careful not to try not to lose any of the balls, and as much as you use liquid clay, they're it's possible if you press too hard you lose them. So I'm just trying to get off the paint I can. I'm just going to use the end of the paintbrush and see if that lets me get into any of the bigger ridges. I think that's about it. And then when that's dry, I'm just going to come out. Now you can either use the same paint. Actually, I'll just do that, it's easier. I was going to use oh gosh, what do you call them? One of these type of pens in copper. You can either use one of them on the top, or you could just go across. Actually, I'm going to use the finer one. I'll just use this copper if it's still. I'm just going to go over the tops and the higher bits, really, so the crevices stay dark. I'm not brilliant at this, but I'm trying to pick it out. Actually, I might go over it with that pen because being lazy, the paint's nearly run out. See. So I'll get all the balls done first, then I'll look for the higher ground. And I'll just paint that. Still looking quite dark, so I'm just adding a few extra bits. I use some acetone just to gently go around those edges. Oh gosh, I'm using the wrong one now. For any bits that have gone over. Trying to just get the ridge of that without filling it. There you go. That'll do. Okay, so I'll just finish the other one and then I'll be back with them both. What I'm going to use here on the top, I've just recently, well it came yesterday, some matte varnish. So I'm going to put matte varnish on this. I'll also be, will I do the back? No, I'm not going to do the back, I'm just going to tidy it up around the edge. Okay, so I'll be back when they're both completed. 2 seconds. I'm just going to get this black pearl and I'm going to leave the other one normal so you can see both. And I'm just going to give this one more of a slaty or metal effect, whereas the other one can stay looking stone, just so you can see both ways. But I'm not just brushing it on, I'll also rub it off so it hasn't got any brush marks and it's just the shadow of what it was. So she has probably a bit much off. I'm going to repaint it and I'll use the dry one this time. So I've just used it so it's not very clean, but it'll do the job. There you go, that just smears it in, which is much better. And then it just sort of leaves a residue. Okay, so I'm just giving you that option as well as leaving it plain, and then when they're finished you can see both. Okay. Okay, so these are the two I made. This is the one I did off screen, but this one I just left that looking like sort of stone rugged, and then I just did this same effect as the other one but without adding anything. Then with this one excuse me, with this one I used the pearl paint and rubbed it off just to sort of leave a shiny residue. Excuse me, sorry about that. Oh, I could just noticed a hair. I'll get that in a minute. Okay, I've just noticed I've left a little bit of paint on that stone. I forgot to do it, so I'll do that next. So that's the backs. And there's your two different versions of my original one that I put up, which I've now also wiped it with that pearl black as well. And a few other ones I did. That one there is one I just sort of wire wrapped it. And this one here I'm quite pleased with. Just scrap clay, and I was just sort of messing around, and then those colours actually really go nicely together. I don't know if it shows on my camera, that never shows the colour properly, but hey. Oh, I just did that one there, that's not very interesting. Oh, and while I was chopping, I did this crucifix as well, but I'm not quite sure how to finish it yet. Okay, anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. It was just a bit of fun.